Well, welcome back to a family business podcast. We've got a lot for you today.
This is going to be spicy.
Zillow, NRA. I mean, it's a lot of news recently. I feel like this year's been pretty calm in general, and it's all just coming out of the woodworks right around the holidays. Right? Holidays bring on craziness always.
I'm telling you what, I want to go back on some of these podcasts. I would like to go back and record conversations that I've had over the last 10 years with people about Zillow because it's all coming true. I called all of this, every single thing. I could be a millionaire right now.
We do have to go back and review our predictions for this year, but I can promise you that no one had on their bingo card that Zillow was getting accused of RICO charges. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
Class action lawsuit. So by the way, did you guys know? So obviously the latest lawsuit that we're talking about, which we're going to dive into here a little bit, is the class action lawsuit that was brought on to Zillow. But did you know that this is the 8th lawsuit brought against them that is active with them right now? I think this is the only class action one as far as I'm aware, but like they have the one with Homes, they have the one with Compass. There's some other ones in there, but eight. I mean, and I know Zillow has like, as we've learned, like cajillion dollars, right? A zillion, let's just say that, zillion with a Z. But like at some point, don't you get sick of fighting legal battles?
Well, isn't there a saying like if you're not doing, like if you're not something, you're probably not getting sued, right? Or I don't know if that's the exact saying.
You're not relevant unless you're getting sued.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
we haven't gotten sued for a while.
According to the podcast that we listened to,
which one? You've listened to a million.
The Broker's Knowledge.
Oh, the Knowledge Broker.
Or Knowledge Brokers podcast. They have approximately $1.4 billion liquid. I mean, that's not even, all of their assets. So I don't think they're real concerned about a lot of this. I will say the most alarming deal that I've heard out of all of it is the agents who are required to refer their clients to ZHL, which is Zillow Home Loans, in order to get more leads, which that is a clear
violation.
Yes.
So Brad, why don't you, for those listeners who may not be as knowledgeable about RESPA as other people, just give them a short little Cliff Note summary before we dive into this.
If I remember what it stands for, it's Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. And that is,
I think you forgot the E. Oh, real estate. Okay, go ahead.
That is a law that basically lenders and realtors, actually any financial people, they can't give kickbacks. They are unable to create an unfair advantage through doing those things. And the lawsuit accuses Zillow of tying their home loan department with the number of leads that these agents get, which that's a major problem if true, because, I come from a pre-law background. Just because that's the accusation does not mean that that's actually happened, but there seems to be a lot of talk out there that that's what they were doing.
Well, and I've not personally seen these text messages and emails, but apparently, according to multiple sources, okay, people that have been Zillow Flex teams or Zillow partners for a long time have text messages and emails, numerous text messages and emails from their ZHL person. Hey, by the way, you need to send us more qualified buyers ready to write an offer that need a loan, or you're not going to get any more Zillow leads. Or things like, hey, I know that this is what your quota says, but just so you know, you're not going to get any more leads unless you are above, X percentage of buyers to us. So, I mean, and this isn't like, I've heard this across the board, multiple people sharing this information. And it kind of makes you think like, if there's a lawsuit against Zillow, which we just discussed, they have, what is it? 1 point.
That's just a rumor of what they have cash wise.
Okay. You're not going to file a lawsuit against Zillow, who apparently has hired like the best attorneys like that they could, unless you really have some solid proof that this is going on.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's
PT, you
no
look very
question about
much
that. It's that, I listen to a lot of this. I mean, there's been a lot in the news lately. I mean, you just said 8 lawsuits, right? And I'm not going to defend Zillow because I think it's
Because you want to stay married.
Well, but I do
Just kidding.
find it really interesting how agents have not caught on yet. And I mean, kudos to them for running this kind of a business, that they are able to convince agents that they're on their side, actually taking their inventory and selling it back to them. And yet there are agents all over the country who are all in to this, paying referral fees to them of 40%.
Well, and
it's crazy.
The reason why I look puzzled over here, it's a lot for me to digest for multiple reasons. One, I don't believe Zillow is a huge marketplace share. I mean, yes, for the home search engines particularly, and maybe some people, maybe individual agents might be a preferred agent, whatever it is. And I also, being newer in the business, that wasn't a part when Brad and Andrea were a part of Zillow. I was not there. So to kind of hear how all this works now is a lot for me to digest, because obviously we do things a different way. It's quite interesting to hear, one, the number of the percentage that has to be transferred back and forth, and you're not guaranteed it either at the end of the day.
So here's the thing. So take this back and this is why, I said that I predicted this forever, never, never. So some of you, if you go back, so Brad and I, literally, Zillow was not in our marketplace. Okay. So that was when I joined you in the business in 2007. Zillow existed. They were not syndicated with our MLS. So no listing inventory from the MLS went to Zillow. I was like, hey, I think this is going to be a big thing. I don't know why. Probably because I'm just smart.
You did. And
like
I kind of we did. When you told us that we needed to get a Facebook page, I was like, what's this goofy name? Zillow.
Well, and they knew too that they were going to be a big thing. I mean, 20 years ago, they knew where this whole, how the transactions were going to move to, and they got it right at the end of the day. You have to give them credit for that.
So we paid, I think if I remember correctly, and I'd have to go back, but I think that we paid, it was like $3,000 or $3,600 for a 6-month contract with Zillow back in the day to get our listings on their portal, because they didn't syndicate with MLS. And I had to manually enter the listings on to the Zillow portal because they did not syndicate with MLS. Brad thought I was the biggest nutbag in the world when we did this. But here's what happened. At that time, people were using it. So what was happening for us, though, and Zillow was different back then, is we looked at it as another way to advertise our listings, okay? So we would advertise. We had numerous people at that point that would call in from our listings, and they would result in, a lot of times being someone that would purchase that home, or we would convert them into a buyer. So we were feeding our database and helping sell our listings. But things started to change pretty rapidly. And the bigger they got, the more expensive they got. So, I can remember, I think we did that for maybe 3 years, I want to say, with our listings, where we got premier placement or something.
Am I crazy? Or was that 2007 through 2010?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was about 3 years. Yes. And we got premier placement. Okay. But then what they started doing is one of probably the most annoying things for me that Zillow does. And I don't know if it was exactly 2010, but they started to have zip codes, right? And I can remember, okay, the calls, oh my Lord, the calls that I would get, the emails that I would get from these Zillow reps that were saying, hey, you're a producer, you have all these listings, you should own this zip code, right? So we played that game for a little while. And I remember at one point that we had for a quarter, I think we spent $6,800 because we're like, oh, we got to be the only person. We got to own all these zip codes. Okay. That sounds great, right? So we have all these zip codes. We're supposed to be getting the leads. But then that's when Zillow started to change the game. And that's when Zillow started to take our listings, because now we're syndicating, right? So everybody's listings going on there. So what they were doing is, if you own that zip code, then you got the right to get leads for that zip code. What that also meant is, if somebody called in on one of your listings, which this is literally why I said bye-bye to Zillow. Someone would call in on my listing, our listing, click the little connect me button, whatever their little fancy Zillow number is, and they think, and I don't care, I've heard so many people talk, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. So many people talking about this on podcasts about how, oh, there's a little disclaimer and the average person knows that they're not connected. Bull crap. When you click on that, people think you're talking to a listing agent. So they would get connected to someone else who was then paying them to get that lead, right? That's what's happening. Okay, so now fast forward, now we have the Zillow Flex and the I don't even know, because I started to phase out of Zillow very quickly after that. And part of the other reason why is we didn't need it. Zillow was a great place if you are a newer agent to diversify how you are building your database. It should not be the sole place that you are building your business from.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So we changed our business model, thank God. But I have a story, and both of you, I'm going to let you comment on my soapbox that I just went off on, but then I'm going to tell another Zillow story, and then we'll keep on with this.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we looked at, it was one of those years, we're like doing our taxes and we're like, we spent X amount of money with Zillow. What in the world are we doing? And that's when we really realized that, we weren't getting the value anymore. And I can't remember what year that was, but it was very clear. So we went back to the basics of where we were when we started in the business. How long have I been in the business?
25
years.
Bang, bang.
But, back then we hardly had the internet then, right? So it was all about personal relationships. No, really. I mean,
No,
it was when I was in high school was, AOL was popular. So 1994. And obviously it was around prior to then, but that's when it became more popular. But it was all about relationships, like going out and meeting people and, getting involved, all the rest of that kind of stuff. I'm proud to say this year, we're going to sell, with us here about $35 million and with 0 Zillow leads, right?
0 of any paid leads.
It's what it comes down to is personal relationships, getting involved, repeat business, good marketing. There's alternatives to buying leads. And I've heard this on several podcasts and I would agree with it. The problem with the Zillow leads are that they don't know who you are. It's not transparent, not necessarily by Zillow. Now, I'm not going to blame them completely, but I don't think the agent is disclosing that how they got them was off of Zillow. And that's why
they have to disclose how they got them off of Zillow. That's not
with
true.
With this law change, it has made it harder, I think. And I think that you're going to start to, with all of these lawsuits, everything else, I'd be less worried if I were Zillow, and I'd be more worried if I were a team leader and I was requiring my agents to use ZHL or whatever I had to do to get more leads. I mean, that's where I really think that those people, that they don't have the lawyers that Zillow has. And I would agree with Brian Lazine that you should be, when you meet with the client, if you're looking out in their best interest, you shouldn't just give them the one name of the one person that you like. You should be giving them 2 to 3 names just so they are able to get the best deal.
Well, I have a devil's advocate question, and then I also have another question. So the first question is, okay, from the Zillow's perspective, should us as realtors be doing a better job of vetting? And once we do get that phone call, once we do get transferred, hey, I'm PT Bowie, great to meet you. Go through all of the items that you need to do to vet this potential lead. And then also part of that is disclosing who you are and what you are to the transaction. Is that where we're falling short on? Or these Zillow Flex people that are getting these leads, are they not properly disclosing who they are?
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's not how it works anymore. So just so we're all on the same page. So we don't do Zillow, right? So we don't know this, but trust me, I pay enough attention. So it doesn't work like that anymore. So what happens now is that if somebody is a Zillow Flex or pay, again, we're probably getting all the terms wrong. I don't know.
Whatever
They pay money to Zillow to get leads. Let's just call it that. I don't care what you are, a partner, a Flex, whatever. So the lead comes in. And basically, it's schedule a showing now. Because of the law change, they couldn't do the connect me because that was causing too many issues, because they would connect them to a buyer's agent who then had to go through the whole scenario of signing an agreement.
And they were like, I don't know who you are.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So now they do the schedule a tour. So then what happens is legit, they just click a little button that says, hey, I want to see this house. I want to schedule a tour. I want to see it between 1 and 3 on Friday. And then there's a little form that they have to sign, a touring agreement, which then gives that particular agent the right to show that property. So the request comes through to the agent. They then set it up in showing time or whatever system you use. But I'm assuming if you're a Zillow partner, you're using Zillow. Right. So I'm sure you're using showing time. And then they meet the buyer at the house. Okay, first of all, super unsafe if I'm just going to talk about that for a minute. But that's how it works. So there's no more of that. So do you think that that agent's going to walk up? Because let's remember, their bread and butter's coming from Zillow if you're one of those people. So do you think you're going to walk up? I mean, should they? Yes. But do you think you're, hi, I'm Andrea Bowie. Nice to meet you, PT. We got hooked on Zillow. Just so you know, I am not the listing agent, nor am I related to the listing agent, nor do I have anything to do with the listing agent. And I also have to pay Zillow 40% of my commission so that I can work with you. Do you think anyone's going to do that?
No.
Why would they not do that?
Because they probably would look at them and they would say, you don't know anything about this property, so why am I looking at this
Correct.
with you?
Right.
And there's the issue. The issue is when people get the connect me button or whatever, and you can scroll down in their whatever 72-page agreement that Zillow has, and it's got little tiny writing saying that in there. And their whole thing is on Zillow's part, that's disclosure. We disclosed it. The buyer knows. They do not know. And here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. You know how I know that they don't know? Because we've had it happen both with Realtor.com and with Zillow, both of them, where we have had buyers who are working with us actively prior to the lawsuit or anything like that happening that have messaged in on a property, their concierge service or their whatever they call it on Zillow reaches out to that person, or they get connected, they start talking. In 2 different cases we've had over the years where they have identified to the Zillow person or the Realtor.com person that they have an agent. Oh, who's your agent? Oh, we're working with the Bowies. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward. The moral of the story is basically all that person did on the other end of the line was try to get them connected with one of their premier partners. You know why? Because they get paid.
Of course.
Right.
That's why. They don't care that you have an agent.
Once, again, going back to this, it's the agent's fault. Like, they're the ones who are paying Zillow for this, right?
Oh, sure. It's your fault if you decide to. Okay. So you're taking accountability for the fact that you've decided to partner with them, and that's how you're building your business 100%. But here's the thing. The agent doesn't have the opportunity, because I heard this and I think this is 100% true. Why in the world, if you're on a buyer and you're on the Zillow thing and you click it and you want to see a listing, why is there not just you click it to set up a tour or whatever? Why is there not a button that pops up right then and there that just says, hey, disclosure, you are not being connected to the listing agent.
No,
you're being connected to one of our preferred partners, and they're going to pay us X amount of money if they work with you outside of your commission. Why is it? Why does that not happen?
Well, and to not jump too far ahead, but just to see how all these settlements have shaken out in the past, that could be a potential for a settlement, right? That has to be included.
I mean, it's what all as realtors, if you're blaming it on the realtors, it's what August last year, the Transparency Act is all about. So why is it that Zillow, just because they're not a brokerage, which they were smart to make themselves not a brokerage, right? Like you said at the beginning, PT, they're just an online search engine. Woo, they're an online search engine who makes buttloads of money off of buyers and sellers because agents list them and then they pay them to give them back to them. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's a lot to sort through, but they've figured out a way, and yes, it's biting them here in the butt here, and they're kind of getting exposed. But to go to my second question, to know what you know now about Zillow, and what you kind of found out, and it seems to be that you got out at the right time, would you do it all over again with Zillow?
I think in the beginning, yeah. Because I think that that's just part of our industry is, I mean, if you're a business owner and you constantly have to evolve, right? At the time that we made the decision to interface with Zillow and start doing those things, we were basing it on the information that we had at the time and who they were at the time. Yeah. Now, if I could, hindsight 2020, if I go back in time, heck no, I wouldn't have supported their Petri dish plan or whatever. That's basically, somebody said this, I think Glenda Baker said this on a podcast. It's true. They basically just used us to figure out how things work and what works best so that they could then figure out how to basically charge us to just, it's the dumbest thing if you think about it.
And I really think when you look at the history of all this, they have outsmarted themselves a couple of times too, right? A lot of what they have done has worked, and that's why they're so successful. But one of the things, going back to this iBuyer thing, right? They really thought that they were going to be able to become a real estate company, right? And they really are. Let's really face it, Andrea, you're right. But
semantics,
that flopped on itself. That once again, at the end of the day, this is a relationship business, and the top agents are always going to be the ones with the best relationships, not the ones that get the most Zillow leads.
But I think it's super unfortunate. This is what bothers me the most about all of this, because I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, sour grapes, you're just mad because Zillow figured out the game before you figured out. No, I don't think that at all. But what for me bothers me the most about all of it, because guess what? Our business is not based on Zillow leads, and it hasn't been for a decade or more, right? But I feel bad for the consumer. That's who I feel bad for, because they think, I don't have an official survey on this, but I would love to have survey all the Zillow buyers and sellers over the years and how many of them went on that site, because I'm sorry, it's a certain demographic. When we have someone that comes in from Zillow, or someone we've worked with from Zillow over the years, or agents in our office that still do a little Zillow business.
All lead gen is.
Right. They're a different kind of personality. There's someone, typically speaking, that's trying to cut someone out of the deal because they think they'll get a better deal. Okay. So what's shady about that is that's not what's happening. Zillow is 100% doing the opposite of that. They're putting another person. Do I think that buyers should have a buyer's agent? 100%. I think you should have your own representation, right? But the fact of the matter is they're not doing it in a transparent way. So the consumer is the person that's being taken advantage of. The other part of that is now when you put ZHL into the mix with that, and now you have people that, because their bread and butter for these leads depends on them basically forcing their clients, steering, that's what it is, steering them to ZHL so that they do their loan there. That's also not in the best interest of the consumer. That's what irritates me.
And I like going back to it, and I don't have much of an issue with a lot of what they do. That's their choice, right? But this whole deal with ZHL is crossing the line. I mean, to require agents that are paying you money to make them use your mortgage company, or you're not going to send them leads, if this is true, that's a clear violation. And that is not tolerated on any level, any company, anywhere. And I guess I'm not surprised that if you want to try to push the limits, well, they did.
Well, it's so funny because I had my first interaction with the ZHL, though I represented the sellers, and if it was a different situation, we wouldn't have potentially gone that path, but it was more of a off-market deal. But the biggest red flag out of the whole thing, and it goes back to this issue with also ZHL and what they're providing as a service, is it the best? Absolutely not, because they sent an appraiser from Chicago. If you're telling me that an appraiser from Chicago knows anything about our market, you're
wrong.
Which
is 2.5 hours away and a completely different.
Completely different. So, luckily we didn't have any issues with that, but you could see how that could just be a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but it goes back to, again, it's a numbers game. It's not client facing, right? So that's what Zillow, and again, going back to why it irritates me, it is not there to help the consumer. It's just there to make as much. And sure, everybody's in business to make money. I mean, nobody, even a not-for-profit, you have to make money to keep what you're doing going. So nobody is like just a charity case, right? But it's that they're doing it at the cost of other people. And if it wasn't that, then why are they not fully disclosing what they're doing? They're not fully disclosing what they're doing because they know it just doesn't have as much of a sweetness to it if people actually know what's happening. Would you go to Zillow and search if you knew that when you got connected to someone that it was not going to be the listing agent, like might not be, never will be, because we're listing heavy agents. So is several other people in our office. We're not on Zillow. So that means you will never get connected to us if you go on Zillow. You're going to get connected to a different agent. Why is that not fully disclosed? And why is it not disclosed that you're paying them? And then why is it not disclosed that they're making you go to ZHL? Because that's how they get more leads. This doesn't bother me at all.
I think the argument Zillow would give you is they do disclose.
Give me a break.
I'm telling you what the argument is that, like you had mentioned, I have never, like, ever since we dropped the platform, I really don't spend a whole lot of time with them. But you just said on there that they've got a disclaimer that's, all these pages. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, right, of what they are paying.
I think it is. Maybe. I'm not sure.
I would agree with you. It should be much more transparent, but that would probably be their argument. Do I think Zillow is in it for the service? No. And I really think if they're being honest with themselves, they're in there for the convenience and for them to make money. Right?
Correct. That's their business model.
They want to make the super app.
Yeah, we're we're going to be the first one that pops up. We're going to be the quickest to get you an agent. It's the convenience aspect. They are the quickest.
We've got everything
Jimmy
here.
John's, Freaky Fats, that is their business
Well,
model.
let's even go with Zillow like reviews. Like this is another thing, right? So like people like I mean, because I used to pay attention to Zillow reviews. I don't anymore because guess what? We don't have anybody put reviews on Zillows, right? We're going to sell, what'd you say, $35 million in real estate this year and probably just over 100 transactions. Like, do we have anybody that has done a Zillow review for us? No. You know why? Because they didn't come from Zillow. Right. So they're not going to be on that platform. But that goes back to like, okay, so the other thing I hate about Zillow is typically speaking, there's a lot of incorrect information on their listings and they don't care about fixing it. That makes me irritated as well, which goes back to what we already said, is that they're not there for the consumers. They're just there to make money. But going back to this, like what this all boils down to and the lesson that everybody needs to learn, and that's fine. Zillow can be a search engine. Okay. Go be a search engine. Okay. Fine. I don't care. But like as a consumer and as an agent, get off of Zillow. And some of them are just going to be forced to, right? There's people that literally this was their entire business model. So now all of a sudden they're just going to have to start over. But so as an agent though, if you have people, I mean, there's an agent in our office that does Zillow. And one of the things we challenge her to do is, hey, go back through the ones that you did in the last year because she's brand new, in the last year, go back through the ones you liked, the ones you connected with, double down on them and build a relationship with those people and then get off of the Zillow crack.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Andrea. And I really think the problem is with Zillow leads you don't have a relationship with, even if you sell them a home, it's always kind of awkward the entire way through the transaction, I would assume, with a lot of people. So the repeat business part of it is probably not there as one that you have actually farmed yourself, that you either knew them through a past client or knew them through an organization. And I'm not telling you not to lead gen. I mean, I really think it's, some are really good at it. But what you're getting charged and the way that it works, like you just mentioned, Andrea, is that they're taking our inventory and selling it back to us. It's just, I mean, what a incredible business plan, and how naive are we as agents to pay for this?
Yeah, let's throw a scenario out there. Scenario A is a transaction either with a family or friend, right, that you're helping or selling, buying. Probably a buyer in this situation. Number B is, say you're a Zillow agent and you have the pressure to close that transaction. Which one do you think is going to go smoother?
Number one.
A, yes.
Yeah. Or A, sorry.
Because it goes back to everything that we preach about on this podcast and what we do in our business, is that our biggest investment in that transaction is our consumer, is our client, where in example B, it's to getting that, you probably have pressure of getting that Zillow transaction closed. Mm-hmm. So there's just so many more things that could go wrong because you just it goes back to the whole money grab, the car salesman thing, is that you have to get this done. This is what it's the number.
100%. And Zillow's not dumb. We are in an instant gratification society, right? So their whole sales job is that I'm going to serve you up a buyer on a platter. And they're most likely going to buy. And they of course don't all buy. I mean, they have one of the highest ratios of conversion, but it's not guaranteed either, right? But then you're paying 40%. Like, you could literally go out there and you could get one buyer yourself for the cost of 2 Zillow leads. The math does not work for me, and it's the easy way out. And long term, I would love to see what these agents pay per year for Zillow leads. And it's not about volume, people. It's about net income, right?
And it's so unfair. It's not even Zillow. It's all these other text messages and calls and emails we get. There are people that are fighting to put food on the table for their people, and they're getting messages saying, hey, I can deliver you 20 listings in Davenport. How unfair is that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that's not
to someone
happen,
that is hungry and maybe desperate. And, they might not make the best decision in that time frame. Yeah. And it just looks so easy. Oh my gosh, 20 leads for listings. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what I said. That's why it infuriates me, because we are, at the end of the day, if you're a realtor that is in this for the long haul, you care about your consumers, you care about your clients, and you want them to be taken care of. And I feel like these things are deceptive to the general public. I just think they are. I think that the average person has no clue what they're clicking, what they're doing. If it was more transparent, great. And then I just don't think the traffic would be there. Because if it was, then Zillow would be more transparent. But they know that it's going to change what's going to happen for them if they're transparent about it. But the other side of that is that what's unfortunate for the consumer is that, going back when we were talking about reviews, when you're getting connected to someone on Zillow, and I'm not saying there's not qualified agents that get leads on.
There's good agents who use it, which is crazy.
But the majority of the people who are Zillow Flex teams or, whatever they're called, they're doing it because they're a team leader. They're set up a Rainmaker style. They want all these leads because then they can attract people to their team, which then they get a split off of. Okay. So a lot of times they're probably not the most trained agents because that's not the business model, because it is a turn and burn. It's quick. If you don't answer the phone, you don't do the business. And that's just not in the best interest of the consumer. And that's what upsets me about it and makes me mad. The other thing that they do is that people don't realize this, but let's say that and I remember this at our previous brokerage. Remember, they did Zillow for a while, and the owner or president or whatever of the company had her picture on the Zillow thing, right? And I don't remember, and it would rotate agents within the office, but it never was always her picture. So when a review came through, it would go through under her picture, and like it would be like one account, when really it's like, at the time, 300 different agents that are doing Zillow leads. And so it would make it look like one person has 2,000 reviews, right? I think that's deceptive as well.
Yeah, no,
it's just doesn't work for me.
There's a lot of it. Let's go back to the topic though on ZHL. I gave you my opinion. If you're a team leader and you're in charge of the Zillow account, and ZHL says, hey, you need to send me X amount of leads, or we're going to cut back on your leads that we're going to give you, and you pass that on to your agents and you require them to use ZHL. Do you see where I'm going with this? That team leader is now a part of what's going on.
I don't disagree with that. And yes, there are going to be some people that unfortunately are making it, like I had a boss back in my hospitality days. He used to say, desperate people do desperate things. Yeah. Right. And so in these situations, you have people that have brick and mortar offices. They've got all these agents they've trained, they have staff. And so unfortunately, I think in a lot of those situations, they're making the bad choice. Right. And that again is not in the best interest of the consumer.
Playing the long game.
No. Oh my, anybody who pays attention to our social, Brad just pulled that. Wow, Brad, that was impressive right there, Brad. PT, can you believe he just did that?
I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's not messing around.
He's in it for the long game.
That's right.
Yeah. I think we could talk about this at
25 years.
Oh my God. I think we could talk about this at nauseum, but I think the bottom line is that I'm glad that some of this stuff is coming to light. And it's unfortunate that there will be some agents or team leaders that are caught in the crossfires of this. But if your business model was to turn them and burn them, and, it was all about numbers, and not taking care of the client, then maybe this is a good, checks and balances, right? That it's happening. And at the end of the day, if the consumer wins and everything is more transparent for them and an easier process for them, and they know what's happening, and they are being taken care of, and they're buying and selling situations, then I think it's a good thing for everyone. And I just think there shouldn't be a monopoly. And that's really what's kind of happening because, I don't know. Take care of your people.
Yeah. And let's go back to that too. Like you just said it best. And there's a lot of teams out there that they're all about numbers. That's all they care about. We need to go back to, they're not numbers. They're not closings. They're not any, these are people's lives. And start treating your clients like it's your last client that you're ever going to work with, and you want to do the best job you possibly can, not how many transactions you can possibly do in a year. And I think that's where this gets so lost, is that it comes down to customer service. And it may work right now, and you may be doing very, very well. But I'm telling you, if you want to be in this business long term, you need to take care of people, that they remember that. And that's how you get the referrals that don't cost you anything. And you actually pay 0, not 40%. So that's the way you do it. You do not look at it as a numbers game. And that's how a lot of these Zillow agents do, is that they want to build their businesses really, really fast. And there's no shortcuts to success. It is a long road where you have to keep doing the right thing over and over, and it will turn out
Well,
good for
and
you.
the great part about that too is that, people are like, oh, great. So then you make more money. Yeah, that you're right. You, if you do it the right way, you do make more money, but you're also providing a better service. You're taking care of your clients. You're doing the long game. You're investing in your community. You're donating to things in your community. Like rather than paying Zillow 40% to do whatever in the heck they're doing. I mean, that's the big picture. Like, build your business the right way. I think that's the end of it. And the other thing we were talking about ZHL, and just to kind of bring this home a little bit on that side of things, if you're working with just one lender, I mean, we have a preferred lender for sure. We have one that we know, like, and trust. We definitely refer him, but we don't tell people that they shouldn't talk to other lenders.
Not at all.
We recommend them based upon our experience, but that doesn't mean that he has the best program for that particular buyer, right? And so you should be educating your buyers that, hey, here's 2 or 3 different ones that I've worked with on a regular basis and I've had a great experience with. And if you're not doing that, shame on you. And I think in our industry, there's a lot of people, like lenders, that wine and dine the realtors, right? And I'm sorry, but that's also on some levels a RESPA violation if you're only sending your business to that lender because they wine and dine you. And that's an issue as well.
Yes.
This is just, ZHL is just bringing it more to light.
Yeah, I mean,
because
this
of
is a great.
lawsuit.
This is a great time to talk about all this, that it's been going on. I mean, there's been RESPA violations that have been going on the whole time that I've been in real estate. I mean, if you read any of the news, I mean, there's a lot of people, but this one is really hitting home, that we talked about tying, and you learn this in real estate class. If this is truly going on, I mean, this is the definition of it, basically. So I think we've covered Zillow pretty well. We're all on different levels. I try to look at it as, okay, they are a business. They do this and that. I'm good with everything until you do something that's illegal. I don't know whether they did or they didn't, but from what the rumors are, it sounds like possibly. But the rest of it, it's just all we live in a capitalistic society, and you have the right to make money legally.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully, as things continue to come out, things are brought more to daylight, and we can figure out a solution. Will we?
I don't know. Let's see what the lawsuit is next week, though, because there's a new one every week.
It's getting pretty wild. Hopefully they take a break on Thanksgiving.
Definitely.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.